Before dawn on August 13, 1961, East German police, soldiers, workers, trucks, and coils of barbed wire moved through Berlin. By morning, streets, rail lines, and familiar crossings were blocked. What began as wire on pavement became the first form of the Berlin Wall. The tension was immediate. Would the West challenge the closure, or would families, workers, and students learn that a city could be cut apart before breakfast? The operation was sudden by design. A city that had still allowed movement between East and West the day before woke up to guards, barriers, interrupted trains, and families, discovering that ordinary geography had changed overnight. Berlin had been a Cold War anomaly since the end of World War II. The western sectors belonged to the United States, Britain, and France, but they sat deep inside East German territory. For East Germany, that made the city dangerous. The cause was not a single street fight or a moment of confusion. It was a long refugee crisis. Millions of people had left through Berlin for the West, draining workers, professionals, students, and public confidence. The border was not closed because the city was calm. It was closed because the East German state believed it was losing people faster than it could explain, and because that loss exposed a cause-and-effect problem at the heart of its legitimacy. The decision also belonged to the wider Cold War. Walter Ulbricht had publicly denied that anyone intended to build a wall, but secret planning moved forward with Soviet approval. East German leaders called the barrier an anti-fascist protective rampart. The phrase tried to make the closure sound defensive. In practice, the first purpose was unmistakable: stop East Germans from leaving. The deeper causes were political survival, Soviet bloc credibility, economic loss, and fear that open streets made the system look weaker every day. Therefore, the first targets were crossings, stations, bridges, and streets where daily movement made the state's weakness visible. This meant the evidence of state power appeared not as an abstract policy, but as guards at a platform, wire across a street, and police controlling a doorway. The human consequences appeared immediately. Workers could not reach jobs, students lost schools, patients and doctors were separated from hospitals, families found relatives on the other side of wire and guards. At Bernauer Strasse, the border ran along buildings themselves, and people jumped from windows to escape before doors and windows were sealed. Crowds gathered because nobody yet knew whether the line was temporary, negotiable, or the beginning of a permanent prison wall running through a capital city. Western leaders faced a dangerous calculation. They protested, watched, and kept access rights visible, but they also avoided a military clash that could turn Berlin into a shooting war between nuclear powers. President John F. Kennedy was briefed on a crisis that challenged Western credibility while limiting the options for force. The wall was therefore both a local trauma and a superpower signal. It said that East Germany would contain its citizens, and that the Cold War's borders could be enforced block by block. Wire soon hardened into concrete. Watchtowers, floodlights, patrol roads, cleared ground, dogs, alarms, and firing orders turned the border into a system. The death strip was not only a place, it was an argument in space designed to make escape visible, slow, and deadly. Yet people kept trying. Tunnels, forged papers, hidden compartments, modified cars, balloons, and desperate runs all proved that the wall could restrict movement without ending the desire to cross. The Berlin Wall fell in 1989, but its beginning matters because it shows how quickly a political crisis can become architecture. The source record and surviving photographs show the context, cause, aftermath, and legacy in physical form. Streets were no longer just streets, windows were no longer just windows. On August 13th, the divided city became a visible map of fear, ideology, and state power. A commute, a family visit, or a walk to school could become a border violation. The wall matters because it turned the Cold War into concrete and wire, and because its scars remind us that freedom of movement can disappear before a city has fully understood what is being built.